Oh, what's good, YouTube, man? It's Gabriel with another Fan TV, man. Back at you with another video. Like the content of this video, go smash that like button. Like the content of the channel, go over here, subscribe, man. Look, so here we are, man. One day away from Ravens versus Browns, M&T Bank Stadium, AFC North divisional game. And honestly, this is a stretch of two games that could very well lock up the division for the Ravens, right? The Ravens are sitting at 2 losses. The Browns have 3 losses. The Bengals have 3 losses, right? So if the Ravens win this game, right, drop down the Browns record and beat the Bengals on Thursday night, that's 9-2. That's a very, very commanding lead in the AFC North, right? But let's start right here with the Browns, all right? So let's go through everything, their offense, defense, injuries, stuff like that. Let's talk about the Cleveland Browns, okay? So first of all, injury report. Wide receiver David Bell out, Marquise Goodwin out. Now this is where it gets really important for the Cleveland Browns right here. Offensive tackle DeJuan Jones out. Offensive tackle Jedrick Wills was put on IR this week. Also, they had another offensive tackle, Jack Conklin. He was on IR since I think maybe a month or two ago. So the top 3 offensive tackles for the Browns are out. Right, that's major news right there. All right. We're going to take advantage of that, but we'll get into that later. So look, last 3 games for the Browns, 39-38 W versus the Colts in a crazy game that they very well could have lost. Came down to literally, I think, like the last couple seconds of the game. 24-20 L versus the Seahawks, and a 27-0 win versus the Cardinals. So very impressive shutout win. But obviously the Cardinals were playing Clayton Tune. I heard a lot of excuses for when the Ravens dominated the Browns and they was playing DTR. So, I have to mention out there that the Browns did play Clayton Tune in his first ever start in the NFL, right? All right. Now, let's get into the Browns defense, right? Now, this is not to downplay the Browns defense. They are a very, very good defense. They are a great defense, one of the best in the NFL, probably top 3, right? And a lot of these stats are going to show that, right? They're a very, very good defense, right? So, total yards allowed, right? So yards allowed per game, 234 yards a game. That's first. 25% conversion rate allowed on third down. That's first. 145 yards allowed in a passing game. First. 55% completion percentage. First. 3.4 sacks per game for that defense. That's fourth. Their rushing defense allows about 90 yards a game at 89.8, which is sixth. All right, so this unit for the Cleveland Browns is good top to bottom. They're a good team. They're a good defense, right? Myles Garrett, all the guys over there. Honestly, really, Jim Schwartz brought in a new, very aggressive kind of attacking philosophy to this Browns defense, and they're excelling playing it. So, I got to give credit to them and credit is due. Okay, so the Ravens will have their work cut out for them playing this Browns team. They got to see them early on in the season. They got to be able to put in the same kind of what they did early in the season, and they got to do it now again. All right, now. For the Browns offense, now some of these numbers for the Browns offense, we got to put the disclaimer out there a little bit. While Deshaun Watson obviously did start the year, he did get hurt and missed several weeks, right? Including the games versus the Ravens. He missed several other games. He missed, I believe he was out. He was out for that Colts game. He was out for the Seahawks game. He just returned for their 27-0 win versus the Cardinals. So he just came back. So some of these numbers will be a little skewed because they were playing with their backup quarterback in PJ Walker, but we're going to talk about it anyway. All right. So 22.6 points a game, 14th in the NFL, 328 yards a game for 18th in the NFL, 31.67% conversion rate on third down, 31st in the NFL. Only the New York Jets are worst on third downs. Like I said, they did play several games without Deshaun Watson, but still. All right. But in the red zone, super efficient because they have a good running game, all right? So 63.64 red zone touchdown percentage. That is 7th in the NFL. Top 10 red zone offense, okay? Passing offense, 184 yards allowed. 184 yards a game. That's what they throw for. 29th in the NFL. About 34 attempts a game for 19th in the NFL. And they're allowing about 3 sacks a game. That's just 24th in the NFL, which is something that could even be even higher this weekend because more offensive tackle injuries for the Cleveland Browns, okay? So, but cream of the crop right here is their running game. 144 yards a game on the ground. That's 3rd in the league on 35 attempts a game. That is 1st in the NFL, right? So not only do they run the ball a lot, They get a lot of yardage off of it. So that's the main thing the Ravens have to worry about, excuse me. So they're averaging about 4.1 yards to carry. We gotta remember this is with Nick Chubb going down with that terrible season-ending injury versus the Steelers early on in the year, right? So this is Jerome Ford, this is Kareem Hunt. They're still able to run the football well enough, right? All right, so this is where I get into my opinion about the game, but I think it should be the key to the game, the X factors, things like that. How the Ravens can come out and win this game, right? Now, for me, the keys to the game for the Ravens offense is sometimes the keys to the game, they don't have to be overly complicated. They don't have to be some deep, big brand kind of thought. Number one, you can't allow Myles Garrett to wreck this game, right? It's as simple as it comes. Sometimes the best keys to the game are the very, very simple ones, right? When Todd Monken talked about Myles Garrett this week, he said, I hate game planning for him. Honestly, I wish he wasn't playing, right? And that's a very, very real sentiment, right? I understand that sentiment because he's a game wrecker, all right? Now, with that being said, Myles Garrett had a very, very good game the first time the Ravens played him, right? I think he had one of his highest pressure rates he's ever had in his career. Now, the Ravens were without Ronnie Stanley that game. Ronnie Stanley was going to have to hold up this game and dominate that side. We'll see what happens. But even with him having one of his better games, the Ravens offense still did enough and moved efficiently well enough down the field to still score points on this Browns defense, right? So that was a good sign. I think they could do that again. But at the end of the day, you can't let Myles Garrett wreck shop over this entire game. We know he is one of the best players in the NFL, maybe the best defensive player in the league right now, right? He very well could hold that title, but you can't allow him to wreck this football game, right? It has to come from somebody else. Has to come from somewhere else, all right? It's Darius Smith, whoever else they got along the line. It has to come from somebody else, all right? Excuse me. And number two, for me, it's the play action pass game, right? Now, this is for multiple reasons. One, the Browns rushing defense, like I said, only allows 90 yards a game. That is 6th in the NFL. But the Ravens ran all over the Lions. The Ravens ran all over the Seahawks, who are both top 10 units in rushing defense, right? So they have shown that their running game is good enough no matter how good your run defense is, right? So for the Ravens, you got to be able to run the football. And when you run the football, get the play action game. Lamar Jackson this year is one of the best quarterbacks off of play action. He's one of the best quarterbacks, period, honestly, this year. We already know that. But we're talking about play action right now. He is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL off of play action, right? So if the Ravens can have a decent run game, Keith Mitchell, Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, this three-headed monster now, hopefully, that comes to fruition, right? Get play action. Play action not only brings down linebackers, it also slows down the pass rush, right? If they can get Myles Garrett hesitating for a half a second, thinking about whether or not this is a run or a pass, the Browns defensive line in general, right? They could get them to hesitate for half a second, thinking about whether it's a run or a pass. Then you open up space behind your defense. Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, who's coming on lately. Odell Beckham coming off his best game as a Raven, right? So that, to me, is the big, big key for this Ravens offense, is getting the run game going so this play action game can flourish. And they can have success for the Browns, right? Browns fans can say all they want about Deshaun Watson and play game one and things like that. That's fine. He did, right? At the end of the day, the Ravens still found success versus this Browns defense, however you want to slice it. They still found success versus this Browns defense, right? They can do it again, okay? Now, keys to the game for the Ravens defense. Once again, you don't got to get big brain and make it overly complicated here. The Browns are without 3 offensive tackles, right? So you got a backup on both sides, and then you got the backup on one of those sides, okay? The Ravens pass rush must take advantage of these offensive tackles. They must, okay? So your Clowney's, your Van Noy's, Matt Abike when he slides to the outside, all Odafe Owe had a beautiful spin move into a sack versus the Seahawks last week. Odafe Owe's coming along, getting better and better each and every week. He deserves some shout outs, some praise, so I'm glad to see that progression. The moves was always there, right? But now he's turning some of that into sacks. All right, that was a little tangent. Get back to that. They must take advantage of what's going on with the Cleveland Browns in terms of their offensive tackles, right? The offensive tackles are not good at the moment. Well, I can't say they're not good, but they're backups right now. And generally speaking, they're backups for a reason, right? There's a reason that there was a guy ahead of them, right? In one case, it's going to be 2 guys, all right? So the Ravens must find a way to take advantage of that, okay? That's key number 1. Key number 2 is bring the physicality. And that's not to say the Ravens haven't done that, but that's just to say that this is an AFC North game. And it might sound corny, cheesy, whatever. But AFC North football is very, very different, okay? This is low scoring, this is defense, this is physical nature. The Ravens cannot allow this Browns team to run the football on them. The Browns are going to try to do that. Like I said, 35 attempts a game, 144 yards a game on the ground, okay? That means they're going to try to be physical with you and push you around, all right? The Ravens cannot allow it to happen. Versus the Cardinals, we saw, honestly, one of the few times this year where we saw cracks in the Ravens. Sorry, excuse me, bit my tongue. We saw a crack in the Ravens' run defense, okay? The Cardinals were getting, 4 yards a pop almost without first contact happening. That can't happen this game, all right? The Ravens have to make the Browns one-dimensional. That's something we kind of say every week, but it's true, right? This Browns team wants to run the football. They want to be physical up front, and they allow Deshaun Watson to fill in the gaps where he can. That's just what it is right now at the moment, okay? So the Ravens have to be physical. This AFC North football is to me, it's the most physical division in football. It's the best division in football, okay? These games are not going to be a super air raid, throw it all over kind of field kind of games, right? That's just not how AFC North typically plays. If it plays differently, we'll see, but that's not typically how these games go, all right? So that's the keys to games for both sides, okay? Now, XFactors. One thing to really look out for in the game, I'm going with Mike Macdonald right here. Mike Macdonald has probably been the best assistant in the league. When you talk about offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, he's probably been the best in the league this year, right? His defense is great. His schemes are great. To me, the X factor is Mike Macdonald's schemed up pressures, right? Now, we talked about the offensive line being down multiple starters for the Cleveland Browns, okay? Not only does that come with maybe a physical limitation where these guys are not as good as the previous guys, it also comes with a communication limitation, right? Because at the end of the day, these guys have not been starters. One of the biggest things about playing offensive line is having chemistry with the guys around you. If they don't have chemistry with these guys to pass off different protections and really know what they're looking at out there, it can cause havoc. I watched the segment on NFL Live with Daniel Orlovsky, Ryan Clark, and I think Mina Kimes. And they were talking about simulated pressures in the NFL. Now, obviously, the team that they were using was the Baltimore Ravens. How the Ravens could have 7 guys across the line, but only bring 4 of those guys, or only bring 5 of those guys. Have 3 guys drop out. You never know who's going to do what on the defense. That needs to be a big part of the game plan. It already will be, but it needs to be a huge part of emphasis because if you can get these guys confused up front, they haven't played a lot together. That can lead to more sacks, more pressure on Deshaun Watson, right? And at the end of the day, Deshaun Watson is only playing his second game back from returning from his shoulder ailment, okay? So he got 1 game versus the Cardinals, right? Cardinals, they're decent, right? Obviously they're a team low down on the tier list, but they play hard, things like that. But this is a true test versus a really, really good Ravens defense. So schemed up pressures from Mike Macdonald, to me, that's the X factor, right? Can you confuse these backup tackles? Can you force them to miss assignment, blow assignments, and get free shots with Deshaun Watson? All right. Now, with all that being said, how do I think this game will go? I'm going to go. So I think it will. Ravens win 1 touchdown, one possession kind of game. I'm going to go 23-16 Ravens. Low scoring affair. Not a lot of big major fireworks, but the Ravens pull it out, get it done. As always, leave your thoughts, predictions in the comments, man. And I'm gonna get out of here. It's Gabriel, Fan TV. I'm out.